It doesn't matter what DAW you choose as long as you just pick one and stick with it. The most important thing you can do is just stick with it. The more you keep changing your mind and choosing a different DAW, maybe FL Studio, maybe Ableton, I want to try Pro Tools. What about Bitwig? I just heard about that one. Stop. Just choose one and stick with it. The most frustrating thing is not being able to get your idea out of your head, right? So it's super important that you get familiar with your DAW in order to execute the ideas that you have inside as fast as you possibly can. And you can't work in an efficient manner if you don't know where things are at. Hello everyone, and welcome to WaveSpot. My name is Austin Knaus, and I've spent the last 2 decades working with audio. My journey began as a radio station engineer at the age of 17. That evolved into electronic music production and live performance, where I toured as a DJ playing for festivals such as Dance Festopia and Backwoods Music Festival. In 2020, I ended up shifting gears and started working as a technology specialist for Shure microphones, along with a few other major audio brands. Now, here in 2024, I fly all over the USA, commissioning C-suite and executive level conference rooms for some of the top-ranked Fortune 500 companies, all without finishing high school. My goal with this channel is to share the fundamentals I've learned along the way in order to give you a fast track to understanding the world of sound. So, let's dive in. Today we're going to be talking about DAWs, or DAW, which is Digital Audio Workstation. So, what is a DAW? A DAW, or a Digital Audio Workstation, is a software that allows people to work with audio. Now, most DAWs are agnostic as to what operating system they work with. They can work with Mac, Windows, even Linux. Some DAWs, like Logic Pro X, are only available for Apple. Depending on what operating system you already use, whether it's Mac, Windows, or Linux, it's really important to take that into consideration when shopping for a DAW. Learning a new software can be pretty complicated. Learning a new operating system and a new software at the same time is just frustrating. One of the key points that I want to underline this whole lesson is familiarity is the key. There's a lot of learning in audio, and it continues constantly. Let's talk about choosing what DAW you want to use really quick. Think ahead, right? Are you going to be producing EDM? Are you going to be recording live bands? Are you doing scores for movies? What's your primary genre? What do you anticipate working on when you're thinking about working with audio, whether it's strictly audio work or if it's music-based? Every DAW is designed to work with audio. Every DAW can make music. Every DAW can make a movie score, and you can also just do strictly audio work. Every DAW works with audio. They were all designed to record and edit audio, but they weren't all originally designed for the same purpose. For example, Pro Tools was designed to record live bands and replace tape machines. Ableton Live was originally designed as a live performance tool in order to synchronize music scenes. Even though Ableton Live was designed as a live performance tool, over time it's gained the same capabilities as Pro Tools and, dare I say, even has more. DAWs in today's world are simply mediums to create auditory art. Every DAW started out as a specific tool, but over time, they've all become well-rounded, full-on digital audio workstations. With all of that being said, take some time to do some research on the most common DAWs for the genre of music that you're trying to make. If you have a favorite artist or a favorite producer, check out what DAW they use. Personally, I used Audacity, and that started my career at the radio station when I was 17. I used that for about a year before I moved on to LMMS, which was Linux Multimedia Studio. I used that for a year before I got a laptop with FL Studio on it. I used that for about 6 years before I finally transferred over to Ableton, which I used for another 8. And Ableton Live is still currently the DAW of my choice. The one thing that I've learned about using multiple DAWs, as well as using those DAWs for a long period of time, is familiarity is key. I can't lie, it's going to take a while to get familiar with navigating a new DAW. You're probably going to have to look up how to do X, Y, and Z a couple times before it actually finally sticks. But if you hang in there and stick it out, eventually the DAW becomes an extension of your mind, allowing you to take all of your ideas and implement them and make them real. all the tools that you need to manipulate audio at your fingertips. If only you knew where that freaking button was. The more familiar you are with a DAW, the faster you'll be able to translate your ideas into actual art. So pick one and stick with it. You don't want to keep switching DAWs. That's only slowing you down because you have to keep learning a new DAW. They all do the same thing, period. Being good at the DAW of your choice is the most important part. And don't listen to anybody that tells you that Pro Tools sounds better than FL Studio or that Ableton sounds better than Cubase. They're all binary ones and zeros. It's just computer software. That's like saying me typing in Google is more quality than typing in Firefox. They're both search engines and you're still using the same keyboard. It doesn't matter what DAW you choose, just pick one and stick with it. That's all that matters. Here are 3 of my suggestions for you about picking a DAW. First would be, which one looks the coolest? Which one visually attracts your eye the most? Because you're going to be working with this software for long periods of time. You should probably want to look at it or get at least a little bit of some inspiration from seeing it. 2, what DAW seems to be the most popular amongst the genre that you're trying to produce? A lot of times you'll find communities based around specific genres, and they all kind of lean towards one specific DAW or the other. Having the same DAW as somebody else means you can collaborate. You can make music together even if you're not in the same room. Number 3, what DAW seems to do exactly what you want straight from the jump? If you can correlate that idea with something you see on the screen, use that as inspiration to push yourself over that hurdle of trying to learn something new. Remember, the goal here is to pick a DAW and stick with it. They all do the same thing. You're not going to go wrong. They're all ones and zeros. They don't sound any different than one another. In my experience, Ableton Live has been an absolute staple for me, from live performance to producing music as well as recording. Let's talk about file management really quick. This seems kind of boring, but it's super important. Like, I cannot tell you how important this is. I wish I would have known about file management before I started from the jump. I probably would have more files and better storage. File management is key. It's important. Being familiar and file management. Those 2 things correlate. They go good together. Regardless of what operating system you use, whenever you download something and you go to install it, the computer will ask you what folder you want to install it in. This is your golden opportunity to start your file management off right. What I did was named my file 1-A master file. This means that it's going to show up at the very top of whatever folder I put it in. My master folder contains where my DAW was installed. It contains all of my saved music files after that. It contains all of my plugins. It contains everything. Everything related to audio goes in this one folder. Everything. And just to show you really quick, the 1A FL master folder. I have all of these tools, all of my samples are inside of this folder. Anytime I downloaded something, I created the name of the manufacturer and I made a subfolder for each tool. This allowed me to go in there and subcategorize everything. I don't have to look for anything. I know exactly where it is. So if you install Ableton in your master folder, there should be an Ableton folder inside your master folder. If you install some Waves plugins, there should be a Waves folder inside your master folder. Now you have Ableton and Waves. So not only are you organized that all of your music stuff is inside your master folder, but all of the subcategories of different manufacturers and brands of things have their own folder inside that folder. You got to get all your eggs in one basket, otherwise you're going to lose them all. If you transfer computers or if you run out of storage space and you need to move stuff around and you don't have a single folder that contains everything, you might lose something, you might break a connection. The DAW might be looking for a piece of software that's not there anymore because you moved it without realizing that you moved it. If you contain everything in your master folder, it's always just one click. You only have to tell your computer to look at one place for all of the music stuff. Trust me, you'll thank me later. I can't tell you how many hours hours, probably at this point, days of time that I have spent just either looking for something, trying to fix something that I broke because I moved a file. And when I tell you that's discouraging when you're trying to be creative and now you have to be an IT specialist trying to figure out why your computer's not working, it can be pretty soul crushing. To kind of sum it all up, every DAW is going to have the same set of features. There's going to be a view for you to lay out your audio. There's going to be a mixer for you to mix the audio together. There's going to be effects and different processing tools. You're going to be able to record, whether it's a microphone or an instrument or a software instrument. They all do the same thing. The most important part is that you pick one and stick with it. Throughout the later lessons, I'll be demonstrating things in Ableton Live, but these are core principles that all DAWs will use. If you choose to go with Ableton Live, then welcome to the Ableton crew. If you choose to go with a different DAW, that's okay. You chose something that inspired you, and that's what's important because that's what's going to help you stick with it. Even if you picked a DAW just because it looked cool, that's good enough for me because you made the decision and you went with it. Now stick to it. Like I said, I chose Ableton because it fit my workflow like a glove, and we'll get into workflow in some later lessons too. But for now, what's important is doing your research and figuring out what genre you want to work with and what the most common DAW is for that genre. If you found any of this information valuable, hit that subscribe button. I release a new video every Monday. If you want to read more on the topic, feel free to head over to wavespot.com. I have all of the information and illustrations from today's episode written in a blog post. If you learned something new or have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. If you made it this far in the video, congratulations on your new journey in audio. I hope you're just as excited to start as I am to make these videos for you. Until then, thank you.